All right, and we're back for another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break. Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and Game Source. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our shows. And if you can, please give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Plus, if you can like, share, subscribe, follow, or do anything that you can to support us right here at the Lakers Fast Break. And you know what? Those 5-star reviews at times are quite interesting, as I read on the air last time. And you got to check out that episode to hear what was said. It is truly appreciated. Phew! Another barn burner, especially going into the fourth quarter with the Lakers down. And they had just a barely smidgen of a lead in the third quarter, but were down by the end of it. And it got down as far as early in the fourth quarter to as much as a 12-point lead for Indiana this evening, and it looked kind of rough. The Lakers just didn't seem to be able to put that kind of into the offense again. It was kind of really just lackadaisical at times, inefficient shooting, things of that nature. But you know what? The Lakers, halfway through the fourth quarter, picked up the pace, led by not LeBron James, because unfortunately he might still be resting, because it certainly looked like it today. But you know what? Kyle Kuzma showed up. 24 points, 13 rebounds, a terrific second half for him because he scored 19 of that in the second half. Montrezl Harrell, efficient again, 8 of 11 shooting for 17 points. And the Lakers did squeeze out a victory, 105-100 over the Indiana Pacers. We finally, in that fourth quarter, outscored Indiana 34-21 and really pulled out a nice victory. And here today to talk about the game and some news, which we'll talk about later on as far as injuries are concerned, because there's a couple injuries that we want to talk about. One that happened during the game and one that was tested out during the game. Are a couple great guys indeed. First off, it is the mastermind behind LakerHolics.com. You got to be part of the conversation today at LakerHolics.com or his site that he goes ahead and throws a whole bunch of great articles on Medium.com. And his best source of entertainment, his Twitter, at LakerTom, because he throws out the craziest trades for the Lakers fans out there. In fact, I want to read one that I saw today that I sent over to Jamie Sweet. And I'll tell you what, this was so enjoyable and brought it, almost tears to my eyes, the response, because LakerTom threw out a trade on Twitter. Victor Oladipo, and PJ Tucker from Houston coming to the Lakers for, get this, Kuzma, THT, Harrell, and KCP. Okay. He said some things along this line before, so this is not something that we at the show, or if you've been listening to the show, haven't heard before, because this, Victor Oladipo, he's enamored now. See, it's not Lonzo Ball has drifted away. Victor Oladipo is now here to stay. Yes,
Lonzo Ball has gone nowhere in LakerTom's mind. He's like a Laker next season. I'm guarantee you.
The poster for Lonzo Ball is now on the left.
That is true.
The Victor Oladipo poster is now on the right, because he's now enamored with us getting Victor Oladipo. And I've already shared my thoughts on Victor Oladipo as far as it's concerned. I don't think it would be good. But again, that's his top thoughts, and I respect that. But I like the responses when LakerTom does this on Twitter, because he gets the most outstanding replies. So I want to share with you real quick, and we'll get into the game here in a second. But I want to go ahead and share the thoughts at LakerTom on Twitter to that trade proposal. I'll start off with Clyde James, at Clyde James 1, 2 for 2 at best. Maybe Montrezl says, I want one more year LA to get bird rights for 2022, if possible, but I haven't checked the rules. That was actually the nicest of the comments that were said. Okay, K. Kennan, at Alta_K. Kennan, he replied, Lakers hard capped, in all caps. Has to be equal or more going out. Not that I do that trade anyways. Matt Walday, at Walday_Matt24. Please, no. OG Laker Donna at Dana Runs on Twitter. No thanks. Right after that, Laker D's 82 at Lakers D's 82. This would be a terrible trade for us. Lakerman_NZ at LakermanNZ. I don't know if that's New Zealand, man. If that's the case, you're getting stuff all the way over to send to New Zealand. That's good. hell no. And you're being told hell no all the way from New Zealand, maybe. So that's awesome. You should be honored. Clyde James at Clyde James when responded, he thought about it for a little while more, and he said, no, sir. So I guess that was a no for him. And then the rest of the responses that came back was at Lake Show Hoops PH and at Elite Lake Show 2, LOL. So I'll tell you what, you've got universal love for your trade right there, LakerTom. How does that feel?
Well, one of the things you learn in this business, Gerald, is that after you write a few hundred articles and Medium and articles for Lakerholics.com, you figure out what things work and what things generate interest both on the blog and what things generate comments on Medium, people to read the articles and people to respond to them.
Oh, it did.
And what jumps out more than anything else are trades. And to a certain extent, this actually wasn't a trade that I really liked, because I probably would not trade Harold for PJ Tucker, and that basically those were added on to a previous trade that I proposed, which I think is a great trade for the Lakers to get Oladipo.
Nice.
And I think we saw tonight in the Lakers game tonight why the Lakers need to make a trade. They do not have three-point shooting that can compete with any of the teams who are the top three teams in the three-point shooting that shoot. You have the Clippers, the Jazz, and the Nets, who all shoot around 43s per game. The Lakers are like 25th in the league, and they shoot 33s per game.
And they only shot 22
threes less.
And they shot 22 tonight.
Right. And they were lucky that the other team who shot 30-something missed all but only made 15 out of 34, I think.
But you're still getting outscored.
The problem is that the Lakers have some serious deficiencies. Yeah. The league has gotten much better. The competition is much better this year. And the Lakers need to make a change. And in certain ways, I said before this game that I was really worried that, number one, I didn't want the Lakers to play poorly, and it's hard for me to root against the Lakers under any circumstances. I would almost rather have the Lakers win and me be wrong than the other way around. But I was worried that the Lakers might come out and really start hitting their threes and make 15 out of their 33s and go ahead and win a game easily. And we have 7 games before the trade deadline comes along. And like it or not, probably those 7 games are going to influence what we do and could be the decision maker in making a deal or not making a deal. Yeah. So thankfully, we got the best possible circumstances as far as LakerTom is concerned. We won the game. We shot terribly from 3, so that we absolutely know now that we still have that same serious problem. We got killed in the paint. We still lack a rim protector. And we saw tonight the best rim protector out there, who's in Miles Turner, who's seeing his numbers crater every time he goes out on the court, along with Sabonis. The two of them have deteriorated to the point where they are negative numbers for the last 3 months now when they're both on the court together. The Lakers should be going after Miles Turner rather than hoping for a buyout for Whiteside or one of those guys that is not going to be a good fit on the team and is not anywhere near the shot blocker, the young star that Turner could be for the Lakers, or the third superstar or potential superstar that Victor Oladipo could be. So I stand by all of the trades I put out there. Some of them I like better than others, but you learn in this business what it takes in order to get the best results, and I'm not going to stop doing it. You can call me TraderTom, but I'll say one thing that I put for every one of those trades that you see out there. There's an article behind it with some very logical, reasonable arguments and specific reasons why the trade makes sense. I'm a Laker fan, so obviously I'm probably biased toward the Lakers players. The only thing I don't like about the game today is that all of my big favorite Lakers trader chips didn't really play very well, except for Kuzma. So you just have to look at the game and where we're going. And this was not a game that I enjoyed because the Lakers didn't play well. They got pressed heavily at the point of attack by the defensive players on the 12th ranked defense in the league, the Pacers. They couldn't blow by them. They didn't have the players who could blow by them and get to the basket. This team has got problems, and the problems didn't go away after a 12-day rest. So the Lakers are going to have to really figure out. We've got 2 weeks more before they'll even evaluate AD, which means he's going to be out 3 weeks, which is probably going to be, let's see, we're playing 7 games before the 24th.
At least it's going to be at least 9. It's going to be at least 9 games minimum.
Yeah, it's going to be at least 9 games and probably more than that.
9 games. Yeah, no, it'll be closer to 10
of the 35 that we had left. So you're looking about 24 games left after that. I don't think seeding is important, but what is really important is going into the playoffs playing well and playing in rhythm and having your rotation set. You can't just go in there and turn the switch. That's going to be very difficult, especially if you've got an unfavorable seeding situation that puts you up against a really tough team at the start. Much as I like to see us get a lot of competition and go through the best teams, because I think that tempers you and makes you a better team if you're going to win a championship. You can also get surprised if you end up playing somebody really tough in the second round. We're likely to run into the Clippers in the second round. So we'll see what happens. At any rate, I think there's some good trades out there. I think Oladipo happens to be the best prospect out there. He's exactly what I believe this team needs. Do I believe that the Lakers are going to pull that trigger for him? No. But would I be surprised if they did? No, because I think they see the same thing that we as fans see, which is a team that is not better than it was last year. We'll need to have Anthony Davis have another sensational shooting finals in order to be as good as it was last year. And the competition is a lot better than the Miami Heat, the Denver Nuggets, and the Portland Trail Blazers.
Well, right now, the Lakers, they have to keep winning in the interim while Anthony Davis is out, because the fact that Denver's on a roll, Denver's surging, and they're right behind both the Clippers and the Lakers and also Phoenix. So we're all getting jumbled in that mess. And not too far behind that is Portland. So if the Lakers have another down period of time like they had just before the All-Star break, they could find themselves easily in the 5th or 6th seed, which, again, might be problematic to even the slightest as far as, I know that home court advantage may not be as important as this time around as maybe it might be in the following years to come. But you know what? There's still going to be a thing as far as it's concerned. The Lakers still have to play well, and like you said, Tom, going into the playoffs, just get AD healthy and be playing well into the playoffs. At least if you're a top 4 seed, it's going to be better for you if that's the case. But also here today, and I do also want to give a big shout out and big thank you to Albert Toquero and also as well Alec Porter. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for the thumbs up, and also everybody else for watching. This is the Lakers Fast Break. Jamie Sweet is here. Admiral Akbar, you didn't call a trap game this time. It's a trap. You didn't call it this time, but I'm very happy you're here. And I also want to go ahead and hear your thoughts on tonight's game. And I will say it right now, it looks more and more like it's all about the offense.
Well, I mean, that's the name of the game, right? Defense is what wins championships, but the goal of the game is to outscore your opponent. So at some point, you got to figure out how to put the ball in the basket. And, the Lakers have a problem. The starting unit all year long has underperformed at a big time level. They've never come together as a group. Injuries are going to make that even more unlikely at this point. And the guys who we had hoped would bolster the bench in the areas where the most efficient have underperformed as well. I think we signed Wes Matthews thinking he could make 2 or 3 3-pointers a game, at least shoot 2 or 3 3-pointers a game to kind of help that. I mean, he got a nice charge at one point. I think he made a couple of nice defensive plays there in the third, but in general has been terrible. And I don't think we need to, of all the guys that LakerTom throws out there in trades, Miles Turner is the only one that I consistently agree is a perfect fit for the Lakers on both ends of the floor. I do not think Victor Oladipo is a good fit. I think I think he could be a fine player. I just think you're going to run into the same problems with him. He's not going to sign an extension. And so you're going to run into the same problems with him that you're going to have with a bunch of other guys like Trez, Schroeder, Caruso, THT. I mean, we've already got half a roster that we're going to struggle to keep on the team. I don't see I would only trade all those guys for a contract controlled player past next year, because then you're at least building something, right? You're not just like throwing.
You can sign him to an extension if you want.
He just turned down an extension. It's not
He turned down a 2-year extension.
He turned down a 2-year.
Rockets.
He's looking for a 4 or a 5-year extension.
Right.
That's wonderful. We're not going to give him one, and so he won't sign an extension with us either. So the same.
He will after you win a championship.
He's too inefficient, right? He
is terrible. He's terrible. He hasn't looked good all season. I don't know if Tom has actually watched the games that Oladipo has played in. I'm going to say probably not.
I've watched all of his highlights for this year and against previous years.
Highlights are wonderful.
Listen,
highlights are great.
Everything you see,
great highlights.
The only thing he's not doing that he did in the year when he was most improved player, third All NBA and third All Defensive. The only thing he's not doing that he did that year is he's shooting a lower percentage from the field and from the 3-point line.
Which we also just agreed on is our problem as a team. Like, we don't need another guy who can't put the ball in the bucket.
He also takes 8 threes a game.
I don't see the logic.
What you need. You're not going to close the 3-point differential by guys just shooting a couple of points better. You need guys.
I disagree with that completely.
More shots.
I don't. You're
not going to outscore teams when you take 30 and they take 40 from the 3-point line.
But let me ask you this, Tom. Well, let me ask you this. But what if you take that extra? If you take,
I think it's flawed logic. I don't see the point in that.
If you take those extra, okay, let's say you get someone that closes the gap and you shoot 40, but in those 10 shots that you take now that are extra, and you make only 2 of them extra.
Make it 3. Make it 3.
You're talking about getting a guy like that, but if you get a guy like Devontae Graham who shoots 8 threes a game and shoots them at 35%, which is what the Lakers are shooting.
Yeah.
Even if you get, even a guy like Oladipo, he's shooting 33% and he takes 8 of the game. You get a guy like Buddy Hield, he's shooting 37%. He takes 9 a game. We need guys who are basically volume 3-point shooters.
Hield, I would give you. Hield
you just cannot do it. You cannot do it with. You're not going to do it with Kuzma, THT, Caruso, KCP, who's afraid to even shoot today. I mean, how many threes did we take tonight?
Right now, not many. And in fact, like
15, right?
No, they took 22.
More than that. No, way more than that. 15.
7 out of 22. 7 out of 22 for the game. I also want to mention the fact that
you're going to shoot 22 threes against a team that shoots 40, and tell me how you're going to come out.
But okay, Tom, I know that, like I said, they were against it again. They got outscored from the 3-point line, which I know is an area of concern and an area of contention. Again, the Lakers' defense overall was very good, and that's what kept them in the game. That's what kept it close. Even it seemed like they would not get over the hump, but they did in the fourth quarter with that big surge against Indiana, which is a sub-500 team.
Right.
But I want to go ahead and say right now, it's going to be a struggle until AD gets back. I mean, this team needs to be perfectly healthy.
How is AD shooting from 3?
AD is not shooting well from 3. He's struggling.
He's shooting 34
and shooting lower.
Yeah. All right. I get
30%.
I do also want to mention. Hold on. Let me say. I would say this. I do want to mention that Alex Caruso is being looked at. Possible concussion. He did get a head contusion today when he hit his head on the floor. So our best wishes to him.
On a turnover that he created with his mishandling of the ball.
Yeah, but again, he hit his head on the floor, so I wish him the best. Also, Joel Embiid. That comes later after that.
Yeah. I hope you do better.
But Joel Embiid, I do also want to go ahead and let everybody know that he did hyperextend his knee. I was actually listening to radio at the time it happened. It was kind of, the way they described it was very painful looking, I guess. And I saw the video later on, but they're going to give him an MRI and see what happens there. But same thing with Alex Cruiser. They're going to make sure that he passes all protocols first, and they're going to be careful with him. So we'll see what happens for the next game. But again, the Lakers did enough as far as staying close with their defense. But offensively, you can see it's a struggle. For them just to get 30 points in the quarter, it is a definite struggle. I mean, that's why I was so pleased. That's why I was so pleased to just see them get into the 30-point range in that fourth quarter, and they did. They came back strong. I want to go ask you this, Jamie. When it comes to what you saw from Kyle Kuzma, you're just looking for that type of consistency. He has now become one of the best, if not the best, rebounder on the Lakers team. Maybe you could argue LeBron. Maybe you could argue him. Either which way. What needs to happen for Kyle? I mean, Kyle, when he's setting his motion and not getting his feet all over the place and going crazy, when he sets a shot and has it straight looking at the rim, it's pretty consistent. The problem is he gets a little offhanded every time and now then, and that goes ahead and he thinks of himself as a better player than he actually is. And when he does get in that mindset, it's usually trouble for the Lakers. But when he stays in control, we have outings like this.
Yeah, I think, he's grown a lot as a player. I would say AD is probably our best rebounder. And then after that, it's probably Trez and then Kuz.
Are you sure? Wait, I mean, give you Davis. I'll give you AD, but I give you AD, but maybe Trez is not.
Trez is not a great rebounder.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I will say this. That's the element of Kyle's game that has improved the most this year. And that's what you look for out of your young players, right? I still consider Kuzma to be probably the last of his young player seasons would be this year for me. After this, I'll consider him a vet. He really is a vet this season, but, he's been in the league. This is like his fifth year, I want to say. What he's done what you want all your young players to do. He's improved an element of his game every season. It's not in ways you would expect. He hasn't added like a new shot. He hasn't added like a weird step back move. I mean, I think he probably works on those, but they don't translate over to the game as well as his effort plays do, his defense, his rebounding, his assists.
When he does his spins, when he does his floaters, all that stuff, it looks great until it misses. When he stays in control and that's his feet.
But that's everybody. That's everybody.
That's every player.
LeBron, even.
Yeah, no, that's just part of defense in the NBA. You're gonna have shots like that.
Catch and shoot, he's really good at, and then anything else is just it's an adventure.
Sure. In a perfect world, those would be all of his shot attempts. But I think that there's a lot of trust between Kuz and the teammates. I don't think they begrudge him the occasional foray, or and if sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Our biggest issue, I really feel like our biggest issue is the 5 spot. We get nothing out of our centers. It doesn't matter who's in there. Great. Damian Jones is trying. Thank you for trying, but I don't see him lasting past the 10-day. He doesn't bring defense. He doesn't bring. He can't. He needs some G. He needs some G League. He should just accept a G League assignment and just get reps. Like that kid just needs time playing basketball, not under the bright lights of the NBA. And I think he would. Put on a couple of pounds in the upper body. But but when Gasol comes back, whenever that is, we get nothing from this. We get nothing from the center position, and that's even when we put Morrison at the center position. The center position this year has been our biggest liability. That's why I think, for me, like a guard or a wing is below a center at this point. You're gonna need something. You can't
have one. He's just going to have to play. You got a center. You have maybe one of the best centers in the league.
Not in the regular season.
Last year, he played 25% of the time in the regular season, almost 25% of the time at the 5. He played 40% of the time, almost 50% of the time at the 5 in the playoffs.
Yeah.
This year, he's played less than 5% of the time.
And I think it's because he's not feeling his leg hasn't been right all season long, and it might not be right all season long, and that will torpedo.
The other point you've made that I'm going to contest is that we get nothing from the starting lineup, and this is coming from somebody who's complained about the starting lineup from day one.
I mean,
well, the truth is the starting lineup is has the best 5-man rotation rating, net rating of any of the 5 people lineups that the Lakers have put out there, with Marc Gasol in there. Now, you can argue all of the things about why net ratings and plus minuses aren't really reflective of individual players, and when you look at the individual players' ratings, but the truth is that Frank sticks with those lineups during the regular season, come hell or high water.
No, I know. I made that point.
KCP a month ago.
Yeah,
you know.
I know. Me too. THT for KCP 2 months ago, I would say.
No, I would put Kuzma in there. He's the guy who can play the 2.
Yeah, I understand why you want some of those guys coming off the bench, though. You need something coming off the bench. You can't put all your eggs in the starting lineup and hope for it to work. But, I mean, again, the starting lineup tonight,
I've always loved that as a player, and I hated it as a player, and I hated it as a coach, and I hate it as a fan. This whole argument that the only reason we're going to ask you to come off the bench is because we need your firepower off.
You're so good. You're so good. We need you to come off the bench.
well, let me ask you this: don't some of these guys let me ask this. Wait, let me just say, don't some of these players, like let's say Lou Will, for instance, who's been a long time 6-man, doesn't he enjoy the fact that he comes off the bench and plays against those second team?
Trez does too. Trez
does too. And plays much better off the bench. So I mean,
but Kuzma doesn't.
let's
averages 20 when he comes on when he starts.
I know. That's why I was kind of mystified when he lost his starter spot, and they started going with more. I think they just wanted to get Morris going.
They wanted to get Morris minutes.
Well, he was definitely one of our most efficient starters.
He's going to start in the playoffs just like he did last year.
Yeah, exactly. That's
and AD will play half of the time like he did last year at center.
Right. So I don't see I mean, this is just how it's going to be, right? Like, there's no sense in trying to fight upstream on AD should play like 50% in the regular season or more. But he's just not going to do it.
Like the way he's been injured,
Right, but I understand him wanting to maybe not do that in the regular season because do you want your Ferrari winning you games in the first month of the season, or do you want your Ferrari winning you games when they really matter? I think
that you have to look at it from a matchup standpoint because there's matchups out there that we won't get banged up, and there are other matchups where you don't want him to go in there and just get the crap beaten out of him down low.
Yeah, I mean, I will say our starting guards combined for 5. They shot 5 of 17, 1 for 3 from 3-point line for Schroeder.
Guys going up against Kyrie and Harden.
0 for 2. Yeah, no, I mean, I was really disappointed with
deficit.
Well, I don't know about
their starting point guards versus the Nets.
Well, okay, with Schroeder, I think Schroeder, you're going to get someone who's going to be very determined to face off against someone like that. I mean, he ups his game when it comes to that. I mean, when you're playing against Indiana, for instance, you don't see the same kind of buy-in for him.
Why do you not see this game kind of buy-in against Indiana?
Just for him, I don't know. It just never seems to click against.
It's real easy. It's Miles Turner, man.
Yeah, and
he can't beat his man and then lay it up on Miles Turner.
I just see some of his best performances coming against some of the best guards. I just think he's the type of player that
where there is no rim protection.
No, we have no rim protection. I was disappointed with how I was hoping. I know KCP made some nice plays down the stretch. Yeah, no, he did some KCP things out there, and at times looks like a KCP who could help, but. This is a guy who just signed a pretty big contract extension and, he had a career year from the floor last year from the 2-point and 3-point. And he just hasn't lived up to anything that he's done, that he did last year. And that's been a disappointment. I don't know that any of our guys are really trade worthy. Like who wants these guys? Like
he's ballast in a trade. That's the reason we gave him the extension. We needed players who have salaries that are big enough to be ballast in a trade.
Because the real targets for the other team would be like THT, maybe
THT.
Kuzma and THT are your best 2 trade chips. That's it. It ends there. I mean, LeBron James, Anthony Davis.
Well, and to trade Kuzma, you've got to go after a guy who's making at least $20 million a year, or the poison pill won't work. It'll destroy the trade.
Yeah, no, I don't see Kuz going anywhere this summer. I think next year, I think Kuz is going to
PhD and KCP for
because there's no poison pill on. Let me LakerTom. There's no poison pill on Kuz next year. Is that correct?
That's right. It bumps this summer, so that's why I think next summer. What happens
in the poison pill, Gerald, is that he only counts 3.6 million going out, but for the team that gets him, he counts 10.6 million, which is the average of this year's salary plus the 3 years at 13 that he's got in his extension.
Correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure that's clarified out there because we always talk about
this summer he's tradable. Well, he's tradable after June or after.
No. Yeah, after the year ends. No, so I think next trading deadline, I could see the Lakers moving Kuz if we're not doing well. I don't see it happening this season. I don't see anybody wanting
KCP. He's the one player I'd like not to move, but he's also the second youngest player that we have on the team, and he and THT's our first round draft pick. And Kuzma's our young player, so you got to package those two. And then KCP, I love Kenny, but KCP is the ballast because he's the one guy that, it's either a lot of teams are not going to want Trez because he's a free agent. A lot of teams are not going to want guys like
Caruso because
he's going to be a free agent. And
the return on that investment
situation. Those are the three guys that get packaged together in almost any deal you want for a significant other player.
I would do whatever it would take to get Turner, short of including both all three of THT, Caruso, and Kuzma. I would do. You need one of those guys. You need to have somebody who can play some defense off the bench. THT is a poor substitution for Caruso, but that's if that's what it takes to get a defender like Turner. If that's what it's going to take to get a defender like Turner, who can do more on offense than he's shown with the Pacers because of Brogdon and
in the Lakers.
Tom, let him finish. Let him finish.
I know. It's like
the mics won't work. I'm just telling you, you guys bounce when you guys bounce off each other like that. No. It just comes out. It sounds like Turner Vogel da.
Right. Sounds like Ja was arguing, which I'm almost done with the Mandalorian. It's great. It's been very enjoyable. I know it's taken me a while, and I finished WandaVision, also very enjoyable. That just wrapped a couple days ago. Anyhow, I think that's what I don't think the Lakers can. If the Lakers stand pat, that must mean that they really think AD's coming back strong. That they're just taking their time and getting it right, and I don't have a lot of faith in that. So I think that the Lakers are going to have to make a move. They're going to need to. They either need help at the 5 in the form of a very dynamic center, of which there's not many out there, or they're going to need help at the 5 in terms of somebody who solves the paint problems, and that is Miles Turner. And if he stretches the floor or not is to me that would be gravy. It's like when Caruso scores. It's gravy when Caruso scores. You can't lose both the 3-point battle and the points in the paint battle. You have to win one. And it's going to be easier to solve our defensive problems at this point than it is our offensive problems. And the only reason that is because everybody's looking for the same type of player at the trade deadline. You want a guy who shoots volume threes, and makes them. I don't care if you shoot 8 threes a game, but you've got to make 3 or 4.
You don't shoot 8 threes in this league if you don't make a high percentage of them.
I don't know about that either. Sure.
No, go and run the NBA staff and look for the 3-point makes, and you go down the line and you'll see they all shoot a good percentage. Because you can't stay in the league if you're shooting 6 or 7 or 8 threes a game and not making 35%.
Yeah,
Russell Westbrook.
I think I would say in general that's true. I don't know that that's
general. That's true. I
don't know if that's a universalism, but I would say in general that
most
true.
Coaches aren't going to allow that, and most teams.
Talk to Russell Westbrook. I think he may have something else in mind.
Yeah, but Russell Westbrook is incredibly dynamic. Or has been. We may be approaching the end of that. This may be the season where Father Time, which is unfortunate because I love Russ's game. I like watching Russell Westbrook. The guy who attacks the game of basketball like it owes him money.
Who averages a triple-double that's an anomaly.
It's an anomaly, right? Exactly. Yeah. And I think his personality has a little bit to do with his not being trade worthy.
Right.
Anyway, I just think that if we could solve the points in the paint problem, that will be enough.
Well, you could solve that with one person. That's the key.
That's what I'm saying.
The 3-point shooting problem, you've got to have at least 2 volume 3-point shooters to solve it.
I think Frank's going to believe in the law of averages there. I mean, it's the same thing.
The math doesn't work that way, Jamie.
I'm not speaking about the math. I'm speaking about Coach Vogel.
So you shoot 38% instead of 35%.
Sure.
That's not enough if you're still just shooting 33s a game.
That's probably about 1 make.
It works out about 2 or 3 points.
No, I think
you need volume shooters. I mean, you go against teams like the Nets, the Clippers, and the Jazz all shoot 43s a game.
Yeah, but all 3 of those teams have like some of the best players who are wings and guards. We have the best power forward and one of the best wings, probably the best wing.
But so that's not a 3-point shooter.
He can be. He can be. He can get hot. He hasn't been hot, and his shot selection has been pretty terrible for going on a month. Yeah. LeBron shot. I'll never.
The idea is you want to surround LeBron with 3-point shooting. You don't want LeBron 3-point shooting.
I mean, again, when he gets hot, I don't mind it. When he has a tendency to get hot like anybody, and that's where I'm kind of like, at some point, it does. You would think the numbers say at some point need to trend back. Like I was looking at
volume 3-point shooters shouldn't be LeBron James and Anthony Davis.
I wouldn't mind if it was AD.
Around LeBron James and Anthony Davis.
I wouldn't mind if it was Davis. Davis, such a good shooter. I trust him to take 5-6 threes a game and make 2 or 3.
He's taken less threes this year than. Do you know that he took more mid-range jumpers? Last year he took more threes than mid-range jumpers. This year he flipped it around.
Yeah.
And I think that's more mid-range jumpers than threes.
There's just a lack of confidence.
There's a lack of confidence and health.
And last year he got 8.7 free throws a game and shot 85%. This year he gets 5.7 free throws a game and shoots 71%.
No, he's been bad from the line.
When it comes to AD, I think it's the fact he was not ready for the season. He didn't want.
I think he's been injured ever since the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yes, so I agree.
It's never right.
And I don't like to think this as a Laker fan, and I don't believe it. Or the playoffs were an anomaly because he's never shot that well from mid-range before or from 3. Never. He's never been a 40% 3-point shooter or a 38 like he was in the playoffs.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean,
40% was the second best shooting from the field that he's had in his entire career. He shot 58% in third year or something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a possibility. You think, was it a breakout or was it an anomaly? We all thought he broke out, and this is the Anthony Davis that we're going to get. He matured. He reached his peak. He finally took his game to the next level.
But I think so. The last thing I'll say about this is that I do think this is where the short turnaround affects our team more than any other team.
Well, I agree. There's good reasons to still be faithful.
Exactly. I think that if he comes back
I bet the house on
super strong,
maybe not.
No.
Oh, let him finish. Let him finish.
It's all right. Tom just can't contain himself. He just gets so excited. He does. He's got a zinger after a zinger after a zinger.
I see another 5-star review on our way. Let's go.
I know, right? Yeah, I know, right? No, I was just going to say that I think that this is the time for him to miss. It's not ideal. It's rough because you're not really able to gauge the team at its best prior to the trading deadline. So any trade that you make is going to come with the unknown condition of whoever you're trading for. You won't have seen Anthony Davis with the team for going on 3 months just about when all is said and done, and that's a big chunk of time to judge whether your team is playing well or not when one of its 2 best players hasn't played for a huge swath of the season, which didn't happen last year. We didn't have to deal with that. We missed spot games here and there, but we enjoyed good health as a team that we hadn't seen good health to that degree for the Lakers in many seasons. We're not seeing it this season. The health and safety protocols have zinged us a little bit, and injuries have zinged us a little bit. And the short turnaround, I think, affects us for everybody who was on the team. And I think that just the mental lethargy that must accompany that probably affects the new guys a little bit as well, because you come in expecting to get like fresh and bouncy guys, and they're all like, "I'm tired, no, like, I'm over this. Like it's been a lot of NBA."
Which is why we really need to make a trade.
Yeah,
because the odds are against us this year. This could be a year that you write off like the year before last year when LeBron got hurt. This year it was AD who got hurt.
Yeah, it
so
could be.
We're fortunate in the fact that he's not out for the season. It's not a permanent injury. It's not a major injury.
Yeah.
So hopefully we get him back. But even if we get him back, getting him up to the level that he was last playoffs is going to be a challenge. Getting the continuity that we were able to develop last year in the bubble is going to be a challenge. So all of those things point to the fact that you've got a year of one of those rare things, a LeBron James possible championship that's at stake. And do you want to just then rely upon being able to have all of these things come together perfectly and that you can go out there and beat better competition than you faced last year in order to repeat? Or do you take a chance and gamble, and go for a Victor Oladipo, go for a Miles Turner, go for a major move that really can change the dynamics of the team and put you on an even scale with the other teams that you're competing with that are going to be there at the end? The Nets, the Clippers, the Jazz, all of whom are extremely good three-point shooting teams. Some of whom have defensive lapses like the Nets that you could take advantage, especially where you really could use a rim protector to improve your defense. Some like the Jazz, where you basically need somebody to counter Rudy, and some like the Clippers, where it comes down to rim protection with the Clippers also. So there's a lot to be said about solving the rim protector problem and solving the three-point shooting differential problem.
Well, I hope if they go ahead and trade for Miles Turner that they will add on the things that I had said in regards to TJ McConnell and also Doug McDermott, which would solve a lot of problems. You seem to laugh at it, but again, it solves a lot of your issues and still retains some of mine as far as defense is concerned, because TJ McConnell, I mean, you cannot have the ball. You show him the ball, it's now his, because I think for the amount of minutes that he's in, I think he leads the NBA in steals per the 48 minutes that
he was impressive tonight.
Yeah, I mean, Kuzma couldn't have that ball. Kuzma showed the ball's out of his hands. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Because TJ's and a great passer, great assist maker, great playmaker, loves to go ahead and drive. Doesn't shoot well from the
those guys can play. Those guys can play that tight of defense on the ball for one reason: Miles Turner.
Yeah, but then you also have Doug McDermott, who will shoot the 6 to 8 times a game that you are asking for. So I'm hoping if they do trade for Miles Turner, they can add those two in. I made the trade that worked. I'm just letting you know I made the trade that worked, and it gave the Lakers a +7 on the trade machine. So I'm just going to tell you that right now. So if that's the case, we'll see what happens. But again, the Lakers did beat the Indiana Pacers 105-100. We were going to do a thing today because Sean Grice threw out there something that we were going to go ahead and do, and that's the top 10 all-time NBA players. But since he's not here, we can't really do it today. So actually 45 minutes in, we'll go ahead and close this thing down. But guys, I know you've got a lot to write about and a lot to go ahead and do for Lakerholics.com. Jamie, I'm going to start with you, my friend. I know you've got 5 great things, just like those wonderful 5-star reviews that we get here at Lakers Fast Break. I want to hear your thought, and also the 5 great comments that LakerTom gets on Laker Twitter about his trades. But I want to hear what you're doing at Lakerholics.com with 5 great things.
When it comes to social media, nothing ventured, nothing gained. I guess much like the NBA trade deadline. 5 great things is coming. I've got another thing I'm working on about if the Lakers do stand pat, if we don't make much of a move of any kind, what is it that we can do to make some adjustments internally to turn some of these issues into at least more minor issues, if not strengths. And that's about it. Got a fiver hopefully coming up tomorrow. Probably come out close to dinner time based on the schedule.
Sounds good, my friend. LakerTom, you're the mastermind behind LakerHolics.com. You've got a ton of great articles that go up there each and every week. Want to hear what you're working on at LakerHolics.com?
I think I'm going to start a new column for for LakerHolics.com called "The 5 Trades of the Day."
You know what? You get the most responses on it, so there you go.
Probably would.
Oh, man.
You know, it's ironic, but I really wasn't kidding. When you go back and look at my Medium articles, I'll get I'll get 1,000 I'll get 1,000 readers on an article on a trade.
Yeah. And then a well thought out opinion about shooting.
I'm still getting terrific response to the Dwayne Dedman trade proposals. It's still like running every week. There's another 100 people that read that article. And
everybody wants to know what's up with Dwayne, man.
You can't even find poor Dwayne in the Twitter leads. I type Twitter in there. I type Dwayne Dedman into Twitter, and I get nothing but a bunch of my articles.
Right.
So
I'll talk to Raphael.
Yeah, talk to Raphael.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. I think that it's interesting. I know that was it you that sent me the article? Somebody made the comment today, or I guess it was Sean who did that. Who said that somebody had said that you should prevent Laker fans from accessing the trade machine. And of course, the problem with the ESPN trade machine is that they don't accommodate the poison pill from Kyle Kuzma. So every time
it's a flawed.
You put Kuzma in a trade, it fails.
Right.
So you have to go to Trade NBA, which actually accommodates that, and also allows you to add in a little plug for TradeNBA.com. Also allows you to add in picks and even to do extensions and change contracts.
So I may have to do that in the future myself.
So Trade NBA is the place to go for any of you Laker fans looking to do a trade. Extremely well done.
A virtual trade. These are not real trades. We talk about them.
Well, I don't know. The question is
virtual.
I wish I could ask this question of Rob Pelinka, or some of the other coaches.
Write him a letter. What's he doing? He's got nothing going on.
What do you do when you ride the trade out? Because you don't want to sit there and you can do the calculation yourself. 125% of what goes out, you can bring in. But the simpler way is just to go to Trade NBA or the ESPN trade machine and plug them in and see what comes out.
I would hope that they use more advanced metrics than the ones that even the NBA trade machine.
They might even have their own trade machine app.
I sure hope they have the Rob Pelinka I Know What I'm Doing app, because that's what I would put the most faith in right now. So go Rob, make it happen, baby. Miles Turner.
We've got 6 more games. We got 6 more games starting on Monday to decide what's going to happen with the Lakers. And whether the
Lakers also got a problem. We're playing at home a lot. So
I think all of us agree that we're going to take somebody out of the buyout market. Right?
Absolutely.
What do you two guys think? Are we going to make a minor trade or a big trade? Gerald?
Well, I think we need a big trade to ramp up the offense. I think we need a multiplayer trade personally, but I don't think we're going to get one. I just think that the Lakers are not going to push the button.
I think they're going to hope. That's the good glass half empty approach.
I think they're going to push the button on buyouts and hope that, again, someone like Hassan Whiteside or Drummond or Boogie is still there and available.
I like the idea of Boogie. I do like the idea of Boogie.
Rudy Gay maybe can throw up some threes.
He's a volume 3-point shooter.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Rudy Gay before as far as possibly throwing up some threes in an efficient way, but maybe George Hill sneaks out there. I think he'll still be traded, but there may be some type of decent 3-point shooter that's on the older side that may, not a Kyle Korver per se, but someone in that vein.
I think centers are who we'll get from the buyout market. That seems to be where we're focusing on those.
But if we have 2 slots, remember, we have 2 slots. And if
maybe more after a trade.
Yeah, if we don't do a multiplayer trade, then I'm just assuming going out the premise.
If we do a multiplayer trade, it's going to be more of our players going out than coming in.
Yeah, but no, I'm just saying, right now I'm going out the premise that the Lakers will not pull the string on something like that and end up having to go through the buyout market.
Okay.
I'm thinking realistically.
I think a minor trade at best. I think I could see it. I could see, because there are so many issues with holding on to so much of the roster coming up this summer, that we trade THT to just stop that conversation for like a Devontae Graham or somebody like that. My only problem is that we just don't have a lot of young players coming over the hill anytime soon with all the picks that have gone out. So I kind of am hesitant on a future level, but at this point, you're going for this season. This is the most important season. Yeah. So that's just how it's.
LeBron James season.
You can't do it.
You can't.
You can't do it.
I think
that's a dereliction of duty in and of itself, right? Like
I think we're trying to make a big trade. I think we want to make a big trade. I think Rob wants to make a big trade. The only question is, will one show up?
Will an equitable one show up? That is the question.
We can win. The problem is that's the problem.
Gerald, I don't know if I've ever heard
anybody for the players that we want.
Right, Gerald. I don't know that I've ever heard your exact McDermott, Miles Turner trade. Who are you trading for those three?
Well, minus again, I did it through the old ESPN trade machine, so it wasn't the only picks or anything like that, but it did work, and that was Miles Turner, Doug McDermott, and TJ McConnell for I think a 5-player combination of KCP, THT, Kuzma, Caruso, and
Trez, probably.
I think Trez.
I think you threw Gasol in there too.
I think I threw Gasol instead of Trez. I kept Trez, so I think that's what worked for me. So
I think it could probably lose Gasol and Caruso, put Trez in there, and that would get it done 100%. I don't know that. Like I said, I don't know that Rob's going to make that deal. I don't know that.
Well, I was doing it based off of money, so and then I was able to save Trez on our team. But again, that's
we go through 5 more games like this game tonight. Rob might change his mind.
Well, we'll see what happens indeed. But again, the Lakers did squeak out a victory. They pulled away in the fourth quarter and did just enough for the victory.
Yep.
105-100 over the Indiana Pacers. Like that, we'll see what happens. They stay in third place in the Western Conference. And again, we want to go ahead and thank you so much for listening and so much for watching. I do want to give a big shout out to Alberto Caro from the Philippines. Salamat for all the things that you do as far as supporting us. I know you give us a big thumbs up each and every time, but we will be back for the Lakers' next game. I know you guys are going to be excited for that. Will you be here for it, Jamie?
I'm going to try. It's a Sunday, like at noon game, right? It's pretty early.
No, it's actually late. It's going to be on the 15th. It's going to be at Golden State. It's going to be at that shiny brand new Chase Center. So it's going to be a game starting at 7:30 there. So it's going to be late. It's going to be on ESPN. And so it's going
that'll be on Monday, right? If it's a Monday, that's a no-go for me.
Well, there you go. I guess we won't have Jamie after all. So hopefully we'll get him later on next week to go ahead and comment on what's going on with Lakers. But LakerTom and I will be here Monday night. Maybe Sean. We'll see. We're gonna tuck that 10 best all-time players. We're gonna tuck that somewhere, tuck it away until we can get all of us together again in the same room at the same time. But I'm looking forward to our conversation on that because that's probably an hour and a half in and of itself. But maybe you know what? We should just do a special episode on that. I think because we're gonna have so many arguments on that. That's gonna suck up.
It's gonna take 2 days.
Yeah,
we could do a Lakers version too, just of the 10 best Lakers.
That's still going to take an hour and a half of time.
It'll take forever.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody's going to argue for Michael Cooper. Somebody's going to argue for Swen Nader. Somebody's going to argue for just all these Lakers that are coming out of the woodwork right there.
Mike Penberthy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I'll tell you what, it's going to be something interesting to see coming up. Though,
shooting coach.
Fire the guy. What are you doing, Mike?
Nice guy, but nice guys, they don't always finish first. We know sometimes where they finish. But again, the Lakers did win 105-100. We will be back on the 15th. That is Monday. The 15th, we'll be back. It's a late game, so we're going to go ahead and be on late Monday 15th? Night. March 15th, yes.
Oh, that's my anniversary.
Forget that.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. You dead LakerTom on Monday night.
Yeah,
I was
dead. Right.
I was dead on our last episode. You'd be dead then. But LakerTom, you can't make it. Let me know. I'll try to work something out as far as the post game. I'm sure your wife will love that. But
She's already
right.
gone to bed.
Oh, okay. Well, that's the case.
Thank God
That's
it's a late game.
she'll promise her you'll go to bed, and then you'll like get out of the covers. You'll sneak back over here to record with us, and that'll be a great thing. So, LakerTom, yeah, shh! Don't tell LakerTom. Don't tell Mrs. LakerTom. Don't tell him that he's going to be here on Monday night. But again, it is going to be the Lakers against the Warriors Monday night, and we'll see you then right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.